Dave Courtney, celebrity gangster number one, loved by family and friends, hated by enemies and detractors, led a life like a cult B movie straight off the top shelf. It was shrouded in controversy, with allegations and counter rebuttals, but one thing that is fact, he brought this celebrity gangster world into the limelight with his first book, Stop the Ride, I Want to Get Off. There may have been a few before him, but none that caused such a media frenzy. And although the book, like Dave Courtney's life, was injected with some razzle-dazzle and make-believe, there is one chapter which details a bloody pub fight with a fellow doorman, which is most definitely true. In the book, Dave says that he had a falling out with a guy called Alan, who he had previously been friendly with. This Alan was a big lump, according to Dave, who ran his own security crew and was a bit of a face. We'll be talking 1989 or 1990 when this fight took place, because at that time, Dave was playing the minder in the TV series The Paradise Club with Leslie Grantham, former convicted murderer and EastEnders hardman and publican. The argument is said to have started as a beef over an ex-girlfriend, and other minor disagreements have spiralled to trouble between Dave's doorman and this Alan's firm, which was bad for business. South London gangster Jimmy Holmes' second book, The Charity Committee, which was banned from sale after a legal injunction from Holmes' ex-business partner Davy Hunt, refers to a bloody pub fight where Courtney had his nose bit off, and the actual person behind the fictitious Alan was Andy, brother of Gary Oxley, who was lifed off for the murder of South London gangster Ronnie Olive's nephew, Joey. That story of Gary Oxley and Joey Olive in itself is explosive, and we'll have to wait for another day. According to Dave, there was heavyweight firms in attendance on both sides, but the agreed one-on-one was honoured, and the two men were left to fight it out. To give the full gory details, there's no better person to tell the story than the late Dave Courtney himself from his book, Stop the Ride, I Want to Get Off. He was standing on the stones in the centre of this circle of about 150 spectators. He was wearing a boxer's bodyguard, tracksuit bottoms, a sports vest, oil all over his upper body, and he'd only gone and shaved his head, I thought. Talk about being well prepared. He looked drugged up as well, stood there growling like a grizzly bear with piles. At this point, I must admit, in all honesty, I suddenly felt a burning desire to return some library books which were long overdue. Things were most definitely not going according to plan. He was all pumped up and looked like an even uglier version of Arnold Schwarzenegger with a red-hot poker up his arse. And there was me, the posy bastard that I am, dressed like I'm going to a nightclub. Sharp threads, jewellery, aftershave, the lot. Well, you've got to have some standards, haven't you? I mean, come on, tracksuit bottoms and a vest. I ask you, I wouldn't be seen dead. It kicked off and we went at each other. And this is the weird thing. Throughout the whole fight, there was quiet. Not loads of shouting and cheering on like you'd think, just silent. Like you'd think it'd been an execution, which made every whack, clump, kick and butt seem even worse because you got the full-on sound effect. And it ain't that comic book noise you hear in the films neither. It's the real thing. He rushed me and I sidestepped and gave him a big crack in the face. He swung back and clipped me and I stuck a left in his gut and caught him across the eye with a right as I moved away. He was a big geezer, so I knew if he grabbed me, I was fucked. It turned into a rolling on the floor wrestling match, which, with his weight, I didn't want. Because I was smaller than him, I was quicker. We started trading punches, boxing in the stomach, a few clumps in the mouth. I caught him a kick on the knee, and he buckled a bit, and I got him some proper whacks to the head. I was winning, and getting proper cocky about it too, and this was infuriating him. Everyone was still silent. All the crowd just became a blur, but we were fighting in this weird quiet. That made him worse because there was nothing for him to feed off. He lunged at me and grabbed for my arms. There was a real crack when I butted him away, but he came straight back, grabbed me by both shoulders and ran towards me. Now I had these leather-soled shoes on and I just started backpedaling and slipping until we both fell over, with me underneath. With him on top of me, it was like being under the full weight of a Mini with the wheels off. I knew all the pushing and struggling in the world wasn't going to get this guy off me. So we ended up locked with him holding my hands. We couldn't throw punches, either of us, so we resorted to butting each other. And to cap it all, he had the breath of a bear as well, and I was getting the full blast. So we'd now locked horns on the ground, both burning up energy in the struggle and practically sagging against each other with tiredness. Then he said something which puzzled me enough to stay in my head for years. He looked up over me, and then just back down at me, and quietly he said, "Sorry, Dave," and clamped his jaws around my nose and bit down hard. His teeth pierced into the bone, and blood began pouring into me, filling my mouth. The pain was just incredible, so much that it wipes out all your thoughts. It was real white light pain, like an electric shock, but one that I had to have for 30 seconds. It entered my mind to say, no more, no more. I did genuinely think that, but something in me just wouldn't let me do it. The natural reaction was to pull my face away. And when I did, his teeth snapped over the bone and cut right through the flesh. It sounded like ripping paper. I actually heard his teeth clack shut and saw these snotty strings of skin between them. The end of my nose was now behind his teeth, on his tongue. He turned and spat it out, and I saw the blood spray after it. I was thinking, that's my nose, that is. The sheer agony made me lash out. I ripped a hand free and punched him with everything I had. One of my fingers punctured his eye and sank in the socket, popping the eyeball out. Blood spurted out all over me. He screamed and flew back like he was on elastic. His hand went to my face to push himself off me, and I bit a chunk out that as well. He was standing now, well, staggering, and holding his eye on his cheek. I could see the tendons it was hanging on, and all this white and green snot with it. When I stood up, I saw one of the weirdest things of my life. I saw completely double. And I mean, no fuzziness, no blurry bits, just a perfect, exact, crystal clear double image of the geezer. I thought, wow, this is amazing. Two ugly bastards, I thought. Trust him to bring a mate. He could have told me he had a twin, this slippery bastard. So now I didn't know which one to go for. When I lifted my leg to move forward, it was trembling, and I wasn't sure if it would take my weight. My eyes were streaming from the pain of the nose going, but I moved forward. I spread my arms out so I could get whichever one of them was real, and we bashed together again. We threw more punches and started rolling about. He bit me again, taking a lump out of my ear. I thought, this is definitely the last time I fight a man before dinner. I was also expecting knives and forks to be thrown into the circle. We already looked like we were covered in ketchup. By now, we both run out of steam and breath and everything else. I couldn't have blown the cobwebs off a nun's crotch if my life depended on it. Everyone dived in and started pulling us apart, and I heard a shout of, "Oh, Bill!" And that was it. Game over. So that was the infamous fight on the Old Kent Road between Dave Courtney and, according to Jimmy Holmes, the half-brother of Gary Oxley. No doubt the publisher added plenty of exaggeration to the fight story, as is the norm for celebrity gangster books. And if anyone watching this was there, please let me know your take on it. There's a lot of talk of Dave being only a plastic gangster, etc., and just a showman. And I don't really have a view on that either way. What is factual is that he ran a very big and powerful doll firm back in those days. This has been verified to me by one of the biggest operators in London and Essex back then. At one point, he did have a long list of people he could call upon, but these thinned out as time went on, and the money, glitz, and glamour dried up. My big issue is the court case of Austin Warnes, the bent police officer Dave admits he had a relationship with. There's no question he had a relationship with Warne. He admits this in the trial, but he claims it was him cultivating Warne, not the other way around. At the Old Bailey trial, Courtney revealed that far from being an informant, he had been involved in a 100% corrupt relationship with Warnes for 15 years, which involved recruiting fake informants, obtaining information from the police computer, and sabotaging numerous court cases. Now, I'm not going to go into detail about this at this point, as it will be a separate video, but what I and many other people want to know is, did Warnes fabricate evidence against innocent people to get friends of Courtney off? Have all the cases during that 15-year corrupt relationship with Dave Courtney and Warne been re-examined? And if not, why not? We're going to look into this question in further detail in a future video. Until then, please smash the like, subscribe, and hit the notifications.